So today we are going to see the lesson Lost Spring written by Anis Jung. And this lesson is an excerpt from her book Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. Now first let's get into the title Lost Spring. Spring here refers to the season spring. And the spring season is considered the most pleasant of all the seasons. The spring season is considered the most pleasant of all the seasons. Similarly, in our lifetime, childhood is the most pleasant of all. So the lost spring refers to the lost childhood. Now, whose childhood is she talking about? In this lesson, she talks about the lost childhood of the children of Simapuri and Firozabad. And how was these children childhood lost? The story starts as a conversation between the author and the rag-picking boy named Sahib from Simapuri. And the first time when she talks to him, she asks him, "Why do you do this?" And what does this boy do? He comes to her neighborhood and scrounges for gold in the garbage. And what do you mean by scrounging for gold? Scrounging means try to get something not by means of earning, not by means of working and earning it, but by means of begging or asking someone. And here scrounging in the garbage means to expectantly look for something valuable in the garbage, to look for something very expectantly in the garbage. So every day Sahib comes to the neighborhood of the author and he goes to the garbage. Okay, he goes to the pile of garbage and he tries to scrounge for gold in the garbage. What do you mean by scrounge for gold? Will gold be found in the garbage? No, of course not. Gold will not be found in the garbage. But why does the author tell he scrounges for gold in the garbage? Because for this poor boy and for the poor rag picking boys just like him in Simapuri, gold is anything that is valuable found in the garbage. So even if he finds a broken toy in that pile of garbage, it is like gold to him. He is not literally going to find gold there. Anything that is valuable for that poor little boy is gold to him. That's why the author has used hyperbole, a literary device, and told he scrounges for gold in the garbage. So what is the question of the author to Sahib? She asks him, "Why do you do this?" And this is his reply. "I have nothing else to do," he mutters, looking away. Look at this line carefully. "I have nothing else to do," he mutters, looking away. Okay? Sahib doesn't come and tell like this, "I have nothing else to do." Okay? Look at the line carefully. "I have nothing else to do," he mutters, looking away. Okay, so Sahib mutters, speaks in a low voice, "I have nothing else to do," and he just looks away because he is not proud of it. And look at this reply by the author. "Go to school," I say glibly, realizing immediately how hollow the advice must sound. So first let's know the meaning of glibly. Glibly means to tell something very casually or very spontaneously without giving much thought about what you are saying. Glibly means to tell something very casually or very spontaneously without thinking much about what you are saying. So when Sahib tells, "I don't have anything else to do," the author just glibly tells, "Go to school." And then she realizes how hollow her advice is. Why her advice is very hollow? Because hollow, here it's empty. Why her advice is empty? It has no meaning. Why the author's advice of asking Sahib to go to school is an empty advice? Let's get to know from Sahib. "There is no school in my neighborhood. When they build one, I will go. Sahib is not a rich boy. Sahib comes from Simapuri, a poverty-stricken place, and he is a very poor boy who picks rags, okay, who scrounges in the garbage for his everyday living. And the author just glibly tells, go to school. And Sahib tells, I don't go to school because there is no school in my neighborhood. There is no school, not even a government school in his neighborhood. And then the author tells, if I start a school, will you come? I ask, half joking. Okay, half jokingly, the author just tells Sahib, if I start a school, will you come? Sahib, smiling broadly, he says, yes. Sahib smiles broadly and says, yes, because Sahib really, maybe he really wants to go to school because he would have seen many children going together to school, or maybe he would have seen children playing together in the school, or maybe he would have seen children sitting together and eating at school. Okay, he might have seen children who are not going under the hot sun and picking garbage. Okay, so when the author half jokingly tells, if I start a school, will you come? Sahib smiles broadly and tells, yes. So this is the first conversation. And then later on another day, Sahib comes running to the author. And why does he come running to the author? What did the author tell last time? She told Sahib, if I start a school, will you come? And what was Sahib's reply for that? Yes, yes. And how did he tell? He told it by smiling broadly. So the next time when he meets the author, he asks her, is your school ready? Sahib asks the author, is your school ready? And she tells, it takes longer to build a school. And was she proud when she told that? She was embarrassed. She was embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant. So when the author told, if I start a school, will you come? She told it half jokingly. It was not a promise. It was not a promise. But Sahib took it seriously. So when Sahib came running to her and asked her whether her school is ready, she was so embarrassed to tell that it takes longer to build a school. She was so embarrassed because she just told it half jokingly, but Sahib has taken it seriously. And he thought she is really going to start a school, and when she starts a school, he will be able to go there. And then the author continues. But promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. But promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. So just like her, many people would promise to the poor people. Most of the time, politicians might promise them before the election. So if you elect me, we will do this to your place. And the promise will always remain as a promise. So just like that, the author's promise was not a promise that will be fulfilled. She half jokingly told it, but Sahib took it seriously. So she tells, promises like mine refers to the author, abound, it's present in large amount in every corner of his bleak world. Bleak here means hopeless. So just like my promises, there are several other people who promised the poor people that they will do something for them. And promises like these are seen in large number. It is present abundantly. That's the meaning of abound. It's present abundantly in every corner of their hopeless world. And those promises just remain as promises. It never gets fulfilled. After months of knowing him, I asked him his name. Sahib A. Alam, he announces. So for a long time, okay, for several months, the author Anis Jung has known this boy. And this is the first time she asks his name and he announces, okay, he tells it, okay, he tells it, Sahib A. Alam. And immediately the author has told, he does not know what it means. The author tells us he does not know what it means. Why? What is the meaning of his name? The meaning of his name is Lord of the Universe. Sahib A. Alam means the Lord of the Universe. Okay, and the author tells he would have a hard time believing it. He would have a hard time believing it. It will be really difficult for him to believe that the meaning of his name is Lord of the Universe. Why? Because he is just a poor rat picking boy. He is Lord of nothing. While his name means he is Lord of the Universe, in reality he is Lord of nothing. So it is very ironic. The name is very ironic. Why? The name means Lord of the Universe, but in reality, Sahib is just a rat picker who is Lord of nothing. Unaware of what his name represents, he roams the streets with his friends, an army of barefoot boys who appear like the morning birds and disappear at noon. Okay, the author tells he is totally unaware of what his name means and he just roams the street with his friends. Okay, Sahib has friends and all these friends are also rag pickers just like him. And what is the life of these people? They are an army of barefoot boys. These are children who don't wear any shoes at all. They are a group of barefoot boys. They are a group of barefoot boys, and they roam around the streets. And what do? They appear like morning birds. Okay, they appear like morning birds. The birds wake up early in the morning and go in search of food. Just like that, these poor rag picking boys carry some small bag and they run across the street scrounging for gold in the garbage, and they do it just like birds. They come early in the morning and disappear at noon because it will be difficult to bear the heat of the sun. And mind it, they are barefoot. The boys come early in the morning just like birds and disappear at noon. So as months pass by, the author comes to know each one of the rag picking boys by their names. And one day she asked one of the boys, why aren't you wearing chappals? To which the boy simply replies, my mother has not brought them down from the shelf. Why does she have to bring them down from the shelf? You might be wondering. Okay, why? We will get to know that later. And when the author was talking to this boy, another boy interjects and he tells, even if his mother brings them down from the shelf, he will throw them off. And this boy who was telling this to the author was wearing a pair of mismatched shoes. Okay, he was wearing a pair of mismatched shoes. And when the author comments on it, he shuffles his feet like one would do when they are shy. And a third boy tells, I want shoes. Because this third boy has never owned a pair in his life. And the author has traveled across the country. Okay, she tells, traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot in cities on village roads. It is not lack of money, but a tradition to stay barefoot is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. So the author tells, I have traveled across the country and I have seen children walking barefoot in cities as well as in villages. Okay, when asked about it, They tell it is not lack of money. It's not that we don't have money, it's just a tradition to stay barefoot. And this is one of the explanations of the people who don't wear any chappals. But the author just wonders, is it an excuse to explain away their perpetual state of poverty? Perpetual state of poverty. Perpetual means something that is continuous and never ends. A never ending state of poverty. A never ending state of poverty. So the author tells no one will be ready to accept. Okay, imagine you have a student in the class. Imagine you have a friend in the class who's poor, and he wears pant that is very old, and you ask him, "Are you poor? Is that the reason you don't buy new pants?" Will he tell, "Yes, I am poor. That's why I don't buy new pants." Okay, no one will be ready to accept that. So just like that, whenever asked about why don't you people wear any chappals, they just explain it away by simply calling it's just a tradition. Okay, it's not that we don't have money, it's not that we lack money, it's just a tradition. But the author believes it is just to explain away. They tell it is a tradition because they just want to explain away, because they are not proud of it. No one will be very proudly telling, "Yeah, I'm poor." Okay, so just to explain away their perpetual state of poverty, their never ending state of poverty, they just tell they are barefoot because it's just their tradition. In the next paragraph, the author talks about the story of a man. I remember a story a man from Udupi once told me. As a young boy, he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest. He would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes. Okay, so a man from Udupi once told the author, so when I used to go to school during my young days, when I used to go to school, for which he had to walk past the temple. Okay, so the temple will be there and he has to walk past it. Okay, he has to walk past the temple, and when he walks past the temple, okay, and his father is a priest in the temple, and when he walks past this temple, he will pray for a pair of shoes. For a brief moment, brief means for a short moment, he would stop and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later, the author goes to that place. Okay, 30 years later, the author goes to that place. But now that town and the temple is drowned in an air of desolation. Is drowned in an air of desolation. What do you mean by drowned in an air of desolation? First, what's the meaning of drowned? To be immersed. To be immersed in an air of desolation. What do you mean by air of desolation? Air is present everywhere. So now just combine all these. Drowned in an air of desolation. Okay, the town and the temple which was once cheerful is now completely gloomy. Okay, there is no cheerfulness in that town because most of the people have vacated the place. They have left that town and there is no celebration. There is no joy to be found anywhere there. There is no happiness. It is drowned in an air of desolation, means the place looks very sad. In the backyard where lived the new priest, okay, in the backyard of the temple where a new priest lived, there were red and white plastic chairs. Okay, and there was a young boy dressed in a gray uniform. Okay, there was a young boy dressed in gray uniform and he was wearing socks and shoes. Arrived panting means panting means breathing heavily, like you would breathe after running for a long time. So a boy suddenly arrives and he was panting. He was wearing a gray uniform, he was wearing socks and shoes. He threw his school bag on a folding bed. And looking at the boy, the author remembered the prayer of another boy who had made this to God, the goddess. Okay, so she remembered the prayer of another boy. So when I get a pair of shoes, let me never lose them. Okay, and this was the prayer. And the author tells the goddess has granted his prayer, the prayer of the boy who wanted shoes. Okay, and he also prayed, the same boy also prayed, once when I get the shoes, let me not lose them. And when he looks at the son of the priest, okay, who comes with a gray uniform with socks and shoes, throws his bag, she realizes the goddess has granted his prayer. Okay, but young boys like the son of the priest now wore shoes, but many others like the rag pickers in my neighborhood remained shoeless. Okay, so the author tells the prayer of that boy has been granted, and people like him wear shoes now. The paragraph is significant because in the past, owning a pair of shoes is a luxury. Not everyone will be able to own a pair of shoes. Okay, now a computer and smartphone has become a common thing, but once it was not a common thing. Okay, it was something that was considered luxurious, but now everyone has a smartphone. Not even one, we have many smartphones. In a home there will be minimum 3 smartphones. And same way, computers, it has almost become common in every home. In the same way, the shoes which were considered as a luxury even for the children of the priest has become a common thing in their life now. Okay, that's why she tells 30 years ago a boy, 30 years ago, that's why the author tells 30 years ago, what did the boy pray? Okay, he prayed to the goddess for a pair of shoes when he went to school. When he walked past the temple, he would briefly stop and he would pray for a pair of shoes. And he had also prayed, when I get them, let me not lose them. And 30 years later, when the author comes to the same place, she sees the son of a priest wearing shoes and wearing socks and shoes, and he has come back from school wearing his grey uniform. Young boys like the son of the priest have started wearing shoes, and they all have shoes now. Shoes have become a common thing now. It is not a thing that they would pray for. It has become a common thing in their life. But even at this moment, those rag picking boys whom she sees in her neighborhood are barefoot. Even today, owning a pair of shoes for them is a luxury. It has become a common thing for the boys like the son of the priest. Okay, for them it has become a common thing, but for these children it is still something that is a luxury. So let's see the next paragraph. My acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers leads me to Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it. Okay, so because of her acquaintance with the barefoot rag picking boys, she has come to know of their place. Where do they come from? They come from Simapuri. Since she is now closely acquainted with them, acquainted means she knows them very well. Okay, acquaintance means people whom you know very well. They might not be your friends or relatives, but people whom you know very well. So because of being closely acquainted with the barefoot rag pickers, she now knows about their place, Simapuri. And she tells, Simapuri is in the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it metaphorically. Okay, Simapuri is a part of Delhi. It is in the border of Delhi. It is in the periphery of Delhi, but still it seems miles away from it, metaphorically. What does the author mean by that? Okay, so Delhi is a metro city. Okay, it's a highly developed city. But Simapuri, which is in Delhi, looks like as if it is still undeveloped. As if the rest of the Delhi is living in the 21st century, and Simapuri is back there in the 19th century with no development. Okay, that's what she means by a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it. It is a place in Delhi, but none of the developments that you would see in the main cities of main places of Delhi, you will not find them in Simapuri. Those who live here are squatters who came from Bangladesh back in 1971. Squatters are people who occupy an empty building or a waste place or an uninhabited place without any legal permission. They are called as squatters. So, those people who have come to Simapuri are squatters, and they came in the year 1971 from Bangladesh. Sahib's family is among them. Simapuri was then a wilderness. Simapuri then was a wilderness. Wilderness means a place that doesn't have a proper vegetation. Okay, it was like random plants and everything was there. It was just no one took care of that place. Okay, it is just a wild place. Okay, it was a wilderness back then, and the author tells it still is. Even now, it's just a wilderness. But previously, it was empty, but now it is not empty. In structures of mud with roofs of tin and tarpaulin, devoid of sewage, drainage, or running water, lived 10,000 rag pickers. Even now, Simapuri is a wilderness. It is not a very clean place where everything is proper. It still looks like a wilderness, but previously it was empty. Now it is not empty because after 1971, it occupied that place. Okay, and one among them is Sahib's family. Now there are lots of small mud-like structures. Okay, so the houses are made of mud and the roofs are made of tin and tarpaulin. Okay, and they have no sewage. There is no sewage. The place is devoid of sewage, and they don't have drainage or any running water. And in such a place, 10,000 rag pickers live. Okay, Simapuri is still a wilderness. It has no sewage, no drainage, no running water. Okay, so the place will definitely be stinking. And in that place, in mud, in houses made of mud, and for roof that are made of tin or tarpaulin, live 10,000 rag pickers. They have lived here for more than 30 years without an identity, without permits, but with ration cards that get their names on voters lists and enable them to buy grain. Okay, these people who came in 1971, they have been living here for over 30 years without a valid identity. Okay, they are not given any identity, means they are still not considered as citizen of that country. And which is that country? It is India. They are not given a national identity yet, but they were given ration cards. Okay, and this ration card helped them to get their names in the voters list, and it helps them to buy food. Okay, and they don't care that they don't have an identity. Why that identity is not important for them? Because what would identity do for them? It would do nothing. See, food is more important than an identity. If at the end of the day we can feed our families and go to bed without an aching stomach, we would rather live here than in the fields that gave us no grain. Okay, these people have lived here for 30 years, for over 30 years, yet they don't have an identity and a national identity. They are not considered as Indians, but they are given ration cards, and because of these ration cards, their names will be there in the voters list, but still they don't have an identity and they don't care about it. Because what's the point of having an identity? Because identity is not going to feed your stomach every day, but the ration card would do. And they are further telling, if at the end of the day we can feed our families, by the end of the day, if we can feed our family and go to bed without a aching stomach here means a hungry stomach, we would rather live here than in the fields that gave us no grain. And this was said by a group of women in tattered saris when I asked them why they left their beautiful land of green fields and rivers. Okay, and what was told now was told by a group of women who wore tattered, so old saris which would easily get torn at any time, saris that are worn out. And next, wherever they find food, they pitch their tents that become transit homes. Okay, so these people, some of them don't have a permanent place. So wherever they are able to find food, okay, if they are able to make a living in that place, and if they are able to make little money and get some food, they will make their tent there. Okay, so their home is like transit home. When they are able to survive there by getting an occupation, they will be there, they will have some money, they will live in that place. Okay, and if they are not able to make their any money there, and if they are not able to feed their family, they will take their tent and go to another place where they could get some food. Children grow up in them, become partners in survival. And survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Through the years, it has acquired the proportions of a fine art. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread. A roof over their heads, even if it is a leaking roof. But for a child, it is even more. So the author tells, the children who grow up in Simapuri become partners in survival. These children don't get to go to school and get education. These children don't get to go to the park and play with other kids. These children don't get to go to a library and read books. They don't get any of that. What do they become? At a very young age, when they are just children, they become partner in survival for their parents. Along with their parents, they have to earn for the living of the family. And in Simapuri, earning means rag picking. Rag picking is the way they know to earn, and it is the means of survival in Simapuri. And children become a partner in this survival. And over the years, rag picking has acquired the proportions of a fine art. Now in Simapuri, rag picking is considered like a fine art. Fine art means like painting or something like that. You know, rag picking, it is an artistic thing. That's how it has become in Simapuri. It's not an easy thing. It's like an art. You have to find the right garbage. Which garbage will give you the valuable thing? It has become like that. Garbage to them is gold. Again, which was emphasized in the first paragraph. Shagib was scrounging for gold in the garbage. To the people in Simapuri, it is gold. Garbage to them is gold because they might find something valuable there. Again, hyperbole is used. It is their daily bread, a roof over their heads, even if it is a leaking roof. Okay, to the people of Simapuri, garbage is gold because only with that they make money. Only with that they get their daily bread. And daily bread means the food that they would eat. And it is the only thing that makes them have a roof over their heads. Okay, only because of this rag picking. Okay, only because of scrounging for gold in the garbage, they are able to have a roof. And this roof is not a perfect roof. Sometimes it's just a leaking roof. Okay, so they just continue this rag picking. But for children, it is even more. But for children, it is even more. By what means it is more for the children? By what means it is more for the children? And this is what Sahib says. I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note, his eyes lighting up. So Sahib tells, I sometimes find a rupee, sometimes even a 10 rupee note. Sahib's eyes light up when he tells. So Sahib tells, okay, it's just garbage. Sometimes I have found a 1 rupee there. Okay, sometimes I have even found a 10 rupee note. When he tells that, his eyes light up. You could see joy in the eyes of Sahib. When you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage, you don't stop scrounging, for there is hope of finding more. It seems that for children, garbage has a meaning different from what it means to their parents. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. For the elders, it is a means of survival. So the author tells, when you for children like Sahib, when you are scrounging in the garbage and if you suddenly find a silver coin, what would you feel? What would a child feel? What would a child like Sahib, a rag picking, a barefoot rag picking child like Sahib feel when he finds a silver coin in the garbage? Immediately he will be scrounging for more. He might think, what if there is one more silver coin? What if there is two more? So it will give him a sense of hope. So the author tells garbage means different things to the adults in Simapuri and the children in Simapuri. To the adults in Simapuri, garbage means survival. It is a means of survival for the adults. But for the children, it is wrapped in wonders. It is like a gift. Okay, when you look at a gift box, what do you think? Something will be there. Okay, there is hope, something will be there. What it is? Similarly, garbage to the children is wrapped in wonders. What if I find something valuable there? Yesterday I found a silver coin. What if something else is there? And Sahib, what did Sahib tell? Sometimes I find 1 rupee or even 10 rupees, and when he tells, it lights up. So to children, it is not a means of survival. It is something that is wrapped in wonders. But for elders, it's a means of survival. Now the next paragraph. One winter morning, I see Sahib standing by the fenced gate of the neighborhood club, watching two young men dressed in white playing tennis. I like the game, he hums, content to watch it standing behind the fence. I go inside when no one is around, he admits. The gatekeeper lets me use the swing. So, one winter morning, the author sees Sahib standing by a fenced gate in the neighborhood club. Okay, and what does he do by standing near this, standing outside this fenced gate? What does he do? He watches two young men playing tennis, and these two young men are dressed in white. And he tells, okay, he hums, I like the game. He hums it, I like the game. But he is content watching it. Content means satisfied. He is content just to watch it by standing behind the fence. And he tells, I go inside when no one is around. And he tells, I go inside when no one is around. And he tells, the gatekeeper allows me to use the swing. He tells, the gatekeeper allows me to use the swing. Sahib too is wearing tennis shoes that look strange over his discolored shirt and shorts. Someone gave them to me, he says in the manner of an explanation. Okay, so Sahib tells, he hums, I too love to play tennis. But he is satisfied just by watching it, by standing outside the fence of that club. And he also admits to the author, when no one is there, I go inside. And he tells, the gatekeeper allows me to use the swing. And Sahib is wearing a pair of tennis shoes. And it looks strange over his discolored shirts and shorts. Okay, so Sahib is not going to wear fancy new clothes. The shirt and the shorts that he has worn is very old, and he has worn a pair of tennis shoes along with that. It looks strange to the author, and he explains about it. Okay, he tells someone gave it to me. The pair of tennis shoes that I am wearing were given by someone. The fact they are discarded shoes of some rich boy who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them does not bother him. So, in the tennis shoes, the tennis shoe that he wear has a hole in it, and it is the discarded shoe. It is the discarded shoe by a rich boy. Okay, so rich people are will be able to afford anything that they want. Okay, depending on their wealth, they will be able to afford anything that they want. So the pair of tennis shoes that Sahib wears is a discarded shoe, a pair of shoes that is thrown away by a rich boy who would have refused to wear it because there was a hole in the shoe. And that fact doesn't bother Shakib. Okay, we won't be wearing shoes thrown by someone. Okay, we will be buying new pairs of shoes. We won't be wearing, let me wait for that guy to discard his shoes. I will get it and wear it. No, we will buy our own shoes. But Shahib can't do that. So the fact that he is wearing the discarded shoes of a rich boy, okay, who has discarded it because it has a hole in it, doesn't bother Shagib. Doesn't bother Shagib. For one who has walked barefoot, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true. Okay, Shagib is a rag picking boy, a barefoot rag picking boy. For him, even a shoe with a hole in it, wearing a shoe with a hole in it, is like a dream come true. But the game he is watching so intently is out of his reach. Okay, but the game of tennis that he stands by, that he stands and watches by standing outside the fence, is still out of his reach. He is able to own a pair of tennis shoes, a discarded shoe, a shoe with a hole. He is able to own it, but still that tennis game is out of his reach. Okay, he cannot play tennis because of his poverty. This morning, okay, so one morning Sahib is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister. I now work in a tea stall down the road, he says, pointing in the distance. Okay, so one morning Sahib sees the author, and he is having a steel canister. Canister is a big can. You might have seen in some old films, or in the past, people will take a big milk can and they will be going and selling the milk. So he is carrying such a canister, okay, steel canister, and he tells the author, I now work in a tea stall down the road. Okay, he points at the distance and tells the author, I now work in a tea stall down the road. And he tells, I'm paid 800 rupees and all my meals. Okay, he tells, I'm paid 800 rupees for this job, not 800 rupees per day, maybe for a month, and all his meals are taken care of. Okay, meals wouldn't include 3 times a day, maybe 1 time a day, the afternoon meal. Okay, does he like the job? I ask. The author asks, does he like the job? His face, I see, has lost the carefree look. Okay, so previously when he was just picking the when he was just a rag picker, he had a carefree look. He was not worried about anything. He would just pick the bag and go along with the other barefoot rag picking boys, and he will be going and scrounging in the garbage. That carefree look is lost now. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulder. So Shagib will carry a plastic bag over his shoulder to find something in the garbage. Now he is having a steel canister, which definitely will be heavier and which is a burden. The bag was his. The canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop. When Sahib was carrying that lightweight plastic bag, the bag was his own bag. But now he has that steel canister, and the canister is not his own. It belongs to the one who has employed him. So, what has become of Sahib? Sahib is no longer his own master. Sahib is no longer his own master. He is not his own master. He works for someone else. And when has he started working? He has started working in his childhood. The replacement of the lightweight plastic bag shows, okay, the replacement of the lightweight plastic bag with the steel canister shows the burden of survival is put on the shoulders of the child. The burden of survival is put on the shoulders of the child. So the childhood is stolen. So the child, Sahib, has lost the spring. That is, he has lost his childhood. Thank you. If you like this video, do like it and share it with your friends. Thank you.